And on to the next set from the same batch. I think it's the last one in the box. It's Binatone Route 66. I know we did one about 6 weeks ago. I think that was in the box too, wasn't it? And it's the A version. So it should be the one with the LC7137 and not the Nightmare version with the PLL02A. So when you have the service manual, it tells you how to service the early version with the PLL02A. It shows a circuit diagram for this and little else. So there's no alignment details. Which way up's this? Which is why we've had to do what we've done. So we've got the factory original coffin mic. We've got the power lead. I think we'll use that. We've got the instruction book. The guarantee. Excellent. I'll check we've got a scan of that. It's still got the gift thing across it. Wow, that's not been anywhere. I remember a particular wholesaler clearing these at the height of clearances for £5 plus VAT. Of course, by the time I got there, they'd sold out. But that's always how it is. So, we will power this up and see. I could have sworn I took the power lead out of the packaging. I didn't. Had another item from our mystery benefactor in North Lincolnshire, so thank you very much. And it is a CB radio, and it is a Maxcom 6E, which of course doesn't work, and so we're going to be able to do that when we've done a few customer repairs. And I'll look forward to doing that. It's one of the less usual Maxcom. Same chassis that we expect, but it is one of the less usual sets. And it's very reminiscent of a 23-channel American set. You just expect it to not have an LED display, but it does. So, yes, don't see many. We've also got a Major 3000 coming for repair. Major were going to do a whole pile of different CB sets, including a base station, and it never materialised. They only ever did the 3000. It's Sabinet 134, but it's certainly one of the less usual ones. And this immaculate example, and it's this customer's mate, this immaculate example has got its instruction book and a circuit diagram. Now we all know what's inside a Sabinet 134, but it's useful to have the correct circuit diagram, because if you get one that's had all the switches cut out, because people like cutting switches out, then it at least helps us put it back together again. So powering it up on 9 volts, it does nothing. Why is that? Because I haven't put the power supply out of standby. So it's lit up, it's drawing 215 milliamps, so it's safe to put at 13.8 volts and current limited for 1.5 amps. I don't know if you saw that Midland I did yesterday, but incredibly it was doing a full 4 watts output and it only drew 925 milliamps. That has to be just so efficient, because normally they're 1.25, something like that, amps. So, new sets are a lot more power hungry because they've got complex CPUs in them, so they can hide the squelch in a menu, of course. Right, so we'll plug it into the test set. And it helps if we plug a mic in. So it should be the standard Cybernet mic. It's wired that way. It's powered up. Let's go for PA. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2, 1 2 3 4. Good, it works on PA. Binatone Route 66. I always used to say, and these rarely do 4 watts, but that last one we did achieved it. And this one, as it's come out of the box, we're on the 3 watt scale, is 2.65 watts. Deviation. Wall. Oh, good grief. Wall. Nothing like transmitting on a couple of channels at once. Yeah, and this is when we get people saying, "Oh, I'll get bleed over." Well, it's not always your receiver that's the bleed over problem. It's the person who's transmitting at 5 kilohertz, and we've had sets with 15 kilohertz deviation, haven't we? But they think they're louder, but they only think they're louder because they listen to themselves on sets which aren't very selective. Right, frequency. Well, I've only just put the test set on, so we will take this with a pinch of salt. It's only been on 10 minutes, it needs to be on 30. Yeah, it is low, and we'll do that. 2779084. So I'm going to set the receive to 2779084 so that it's absolutely fair. There we go. So it's often receive that's not set up right on this, but it actually sounds alright. Uh, 12 dB, 0.6 microvolts. I don't expect we'll be improving that. So yeah, it works, but it's certainly had the screwdriver expert with the deviation, and that's a shame. They seem to have left the receiver alone on this occasion. Soldering iron ready. Good. Well, certainly immaculate. And it is the LC7137 version. You can see the IC there, just as it said on the box. Now you could always end up with a set in a box, and the two didn't originate in those two items together. So I'm always wary. Well, I'll have to get our service notes. I think the only thing I remember is that was deviation. I'll tell you what, we'll put it on frequency. It's quite a high quality trimmer. I'll tell you what, it's going. Just like it to be very, very slightly above, with them dropping naturally with age. I'll come to this later, probably behind the scenes, just to make sure it's still somewhere near. Good. Well, that's that sorted. We now need to just bring it up a bit from 2.6 watts. I think the fail rate on any set's going to be about 3.2 usually, where we'd actually have to start looking into changing things. But remember, my watts, if I say something's 3.5 watts, if you put it on a hobby meter, it may read well over 4 anyway. So the test meter I have is to some extent selective. Right, we've not filed it away yet, so there's a service manual, which is pretty useless for this version, and then there's the service notes that I've made myself. Can't you tell? So we have a transmit multiplier there. So I may leave that. I may, because whilst it's transmitting on the correct frequency and not some multiple like 9 megs or 14 megs or whatever, then that must be set right. But I may just look into that. So transmit, our first one is going to be there. And that's spot on. Let's put the right meter on and then you can all see. Have I put picture in picture on? Do you know what? I've not even put picture in picture on. What a wally. So, we've done that one. We need to now go straight for that one. Now that's still sealed. Now I don't want to damage this ceramic tool. It's that snowflake type stuff. I'm just going to tell you what, that coil feels loose. Oh, they're all loose, it's the way it is, it's not the radio. Just want to kind of break the seal on that so don't damage the tool. So that one moves, that one moves, that needs a different tool, and that moves. Right, now we're going to transmit. It's about there. Yep, they're about right. So we'll do the power setting, and you transmit. One is for low and the other's for high. So that should be our high power one. I'll just give that a quick clean. It was a bit, you know what. I'm going to put the spectrum analyzer on because they normally are poking out of the top and they're not on this set. So I just need to make sure that that's right. You don't. This isn't part of the transmitter tune-up, only if it's been messed with. And to be honest, that isn't very good to what I normally see on these sets. We're going to pop the radio on high power. That boots up. Sorry, from high power to low power, and we'll see if we've got 400 milliwatts. Well, in fact, we've got 180 milliwatts, so low power's the left one. That's nice and smooth. Now we need to go back to high and just make sure it's still 4 watts. slightly changed. There's a bit of a balancing act here. Back to low power. Spot on. So that's got that done. Right, let's have a look at this spectrum analyzer. Do with a longer wire. When you're doing a sniff, it's not like being directly connected. Right, I'll switch to that. No, wrong one. So there's our 27 megs. Let's just move it around a bit. Looking for 50 odd. There it is. That's not good. I want to reduce that to minimum. And normally these are coming out of the top. So I'm just going to set them so they're actually where I normally see them. But on this occasion, that's not where they want to be. I think what we'll do, we'll go over to 27.79125 and maximise it on that frequency, and then see what we're left with. So at the moment, 25 dBm. Okay. So then we'll go and look at the second harmonic. I'll just put 56 in and twiddle from there. Frequency 56 megs. There isn't it? That's greatly enlarged. That's actually 100 and what? Let's put that thing on the peak. Minus 67 dBm. So that's actually in spec. I say that is greatly enlarged, so good. So I shouldn't have had to align that, but once again, these are just about coming out of the top and they were quite well down. So that had been fiddled with, which is annoying. Right, we'll switch that off, save electricity. So we'll look at setting the meter. The TX meter is the preset there. I bet it wallops across. It does. So there we are on the 4. So that's only relevant when it's on a dummy load. It will read something different when it's on an aerial. Now we need to do this deviation. You have to bear in mind the AGC is weird on these sets, automatic gain control. Wallow, 1, 2, wallow. You know what? It's on. Now that's balanced. This isn't reading wrongly. Wallow. I'm just going to put it on 2.5. 1, 2. Make sure we're tuned in. Wallow. 1, 2, 1, 2. Wallow. Yeah, actually needs to come up a bit. Let's go over to that display. Try it there. 1, 2, wallow, 1, 2. Can give it a little bit more. One, two, 1, 2. I'm just going to test it with the factory microphone. I'd hate to have it different. Wallow. No, it's exactly the same. So if we put our monitor receiver on, you'll hear it. It's a bit harsh on the attack. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. 1, 2. It kind of it clips you uppers, like the realistic CB27 handheld does as well. Right. So I think we've covered the transmitter. I'm just going to very, very carefully adjust these. And by this I mean a 16th of a turn. Yeah, they're rock solid in the right place. Very, very slight improvement on that one. I now need to prop the power down because it's now just over the legal limit. So there we are. There's a good 4 watts. I'll recheck low power. Yeah, that needs to pop down as well. Mind you, I've messed with the harmonic filter, haven't I, as well? Just check the meter, say something near. It does. Right, so now we'll put the receive frequency into the signal generator, because it was on, if you remember, we set it off frequency on purpose. There we go. The first thing we want to do is set the detector, so we'll put that on the camera. So I want a big signal, so it's 100 microvolts, sufficient volume for a decent trace, and then we just need to adjust the detector, which is over there in the naughty corner. That was absolutely spot on as it was. So now we'll look at the front end. We're not touching those two, they're the VCO. Right, we'll put the synod meter on. I don't like this chuffing these do. Bit of an improvement. Bit of an improvement. Put a bigger signal on for that. That's it. Check this one. There we go. I think that's it, isn't it? So we've got an IF injection from there's a coil down here just by the synthesizer chip, and that puts the reference signal over to the receiver's IF. That's about where it should be. So what can we hear it down to? We'll do that test again. So 0.3 of a microvolt. Let's put the attenuator on here. 0.3, 0.25, 0.2, 0.15, 0.1. Lose it just below 0.1. So it's incredibly receive sensitive, but the synod reading is what? (12 dB). We have 0.58 microvolts. So that came up a little bit. We've done that. It's 2.2 to 2.5. Right, we'll put S9 back on the signal generator and we'll see whether we can set the meter to read S9. You know what? It's absolutely bang on the S9. So we don't need to adjust that. We're not going to. So just to point out which the preset is, the RX meter is there. So it's that one. The transmit meter is that one. The receive meter is that one. So it just leaves us to do the squelch. It's not one of those sets with two squelch adjustments, is it? Right, we're going to set squelch to full. The racket you can hear is the test set doing its thing. So at full squelch, it's not squelching out 10 microvolts. We need to strengthen that. This is, there are two squelch adjustments, aren't there? This is normal squelch. Well, that doesn't set how I want it to set. So where's abnormal squelch? Low end. Turn it down. Right. And then we'll turn this one back to full on the radio. That's it. Wow, got it right. 100 microvolts, and it comes in on full. So now we'll turn the squelch down, switch the signal generator to standby, set the squelch to threshold, switch the signal generator back on at 0.3 of a microvolt, straight in. It's coming in at, it was coming in at 0.3 of a microvolt, it isn't now. It's coming in at 0.27 of a microvolt now. You take this with a pinch of salt. No, it's just on the verge at 0.3. So it's just about 0.3 that it does come in, and it stays with us right to just under 0.1 of a microvolt. So it's a very wide squelch. So we've got that set at both ends. So you don't want the set squelch that when you turn it down it never ever hisses, which is the low end adjustment. And then at the other end you don't want it to be so strong that it never ever opens, which is the high end adjustment. So a bit unusual. But that's all there is to it. It was a working set, it's coming for a tune-up, and that's what we've been able to do today. So I'll put the lid on it. I'll try and put the lid on it. They're like butters. We haven't had any Route 66s for years, and then two come within 6 weeks. I think there's a Comtron 40F in this batch as well. We've got some, after this batch, we've got a couple of Midland 4001s come in. He bought one used, I think November, and he's not happy with that, and he had an existing one, so he's going to have them both looked at. I always get that the wrong way around. Right, we'll put that service manual away for another few weeks. And we'll put this on the roof aerial. wedding to do on Friday, so I don't think we'll be doing much of this, or my own organ job. Switch that off, switch this off, and swap the test instruments for the aerial. You know what, I should have put the lids on. I shouldn't have put the lids on until I've tried it with the aerial, should I? In case the squelch is in the wrong position. There's a right lot of racket on at the moment. 19 Roger. So it's about 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday. There's just stuff coming in from all over the place. There we go. Let's give it one more try. 19 Roger. No. I dread to think how it'll work out when we go on the air test because I have so much interference. We've got on our 77's radio. I've got 2 other repeaters coming through on the other channel, and that's UHF. So, goodness knows. Well, there you are. There's another Binatone Route 66 late version, the A. What we could call the Mark II. So thank you for watching.